So I traveled the week before. We traveled to another country. And the difficulty of traveling, especially when you go different time zones, is it's very hard to stay in a routine with your team. And it's very hard for work to happen, especially when you're synchronous. And because of that travel, I was 4 hours ahead of the UK, which meant that it was very difficult to sort of balance the work, personal stuff, also the time zone. So you end up pushing a lot longer hours because you're trying to still compensate. So that was the hard part. Well, the converse is because you're in a different time zone, and especially being hours ahead, is you're getting up earlier. Now, and also the climate was better because we're in Dubai, which is warmer than the UK at the moment. You can get up earlier. It's a lot more pleasant, better look around, the scenery is nice. Same as like being in SA. So it was nicer to get up. And then because I had time, because no one was phoning me or I was on calls and stuff, I could do a lot more work, deep work, because I wasn't being distracted. So that was a good thing. I think there's the two things. So one is the synchronicity of work is not always a good thing. I don't say it's a bad thing, but you need to put together teams and processes and whatever that are not, as a leader at least, are not reliant on you. So, the biggest shift from being an entrepreneur or a small business owner into one that's in a profitable business is how much is dependent on you to do it. So the lesson for me, which thankfully have good people that I work with, was to put in place things that don't rely on me to make a decision. So my teams are empowered to make decisions and we always go through it, but they can make the decision at the time. And it's kind of an update that they'll give me. I'll be like, yeah, that was the right decision. No problem. Or why did you guys make that decision? And they'll explain their reasoning. And I'll be like, yeah, okay, I agree with you. That's a good call. Or don't agree. Maybe we should do some shifting, but at least they're not waiting for me to make the decision. So that was one lesson there. The synchronicity and asynchronicity. And that's the other lesson, the asynchronicity. So when you're not in the same time zone as people and you're working, you've got to remember that, just because it's something that's important to you and you're actively going, not everyone's going to be at the same speed or engagement when they get your message or email, whatever it is. So what I always forget, but I realized, after sort of day 2 of doing this, is I might have put 4 hours in on something. So by the time I speak to somebody, I'm like really going on this topic. And you got to remember that they are coming in this cold. So it's that taking a step back, taking a breath, resetting it a little bit before you have that conversation. And then a portion of that too, which is the asynchronous part, is I found it was quite nice to get up early. Like I was even getting up early for where I was. So I was basically up 6 or 8 hours before everybody else. And I was setting out a whole lot of work for other people to do, but I was being very clear about what I needed done. And I found that was really beneficial because it got the stress. Normally that stuff would be done like in a call and it'd be like, quick and dirty and whatever it is. But because I actually sat down and I actually planned it out and wrote it out, it was a much better instruction for a lot of people. So actually me traveling in some respects kind of worked. It was still very stressful and very tiring. I mean, I don't like to do it, but at least it gave me some benefit. It gave me some time to catch up on some work and I had the brain time. And offload work nicely to other people to do the work instead of being rushed. There was a nice lesson in that respect.